I wanted to make a short video for you guys that have an F-body Camaro or a F-body Firebird that's having a problem with an oil leak. These LT1s, world famous for oil leaks, not only in the front of the motor where your timing chain cover goes. I replaced all those seals and also replaced the water pump and the Opti distributor and all that. But I started getting another oil leak out of the blue, and it got real bad. I mean, it got so bad that there's actually a pan underneath this car right now to catch the oil. And for the life of me, I couldn't figure out where in the hell it was coming from. So I watched a lot of video on YouTube, and also on the pages, the camaro.com or whatever it's called. I've read a lot on the blogs, and they all talk about the LT1s having a bad intake gasket problem in the back. I don't know how good this is shooting, but I took the valve cover off here earlier and thinking that maybe the valve cover was leaking, and well, actually, before I did that, I took the car, I climbed under the car and I cleaned everything real good, all the oil off of it with brake cleaner. And then I took the car up the street and came back, and before it could find its way all over everything underneath the car, I climbed up under there and seen that it was leaking from, it looked like the top of the bell housing. There's a 6-speed in this car, and it was rolling down the bell housing, and I almost thought that I had a oil leak. I mean a rear main seal leak. And I was hoping that it was not that, because I just put a clutch in this car and replaced the rear main seal. But it was rolling down the top of the bell housing, and it was bad. It was real bad, and it was dripping all around the bottom of the bell housing and the dust cover for the flywheel. So I took the valve cover off to see if the valve cover could possibly be leaking in the back, and I couldn't feel any oil. I finally reached around there to where I could feel the back of the intake, and I still couldn't find any oil. Any wet oil. So I thought, well, where in the hell could this be coming from? Before I put the valve cover gasket back on, I decided to go ahead and torque the bolts on the intake manifold. Well, it come to find out that the bolts on the intake manifold, mostly in the back and the sides, were very, very loose. I mean, almost hand tight. I guess they'd come loose over the years. I don't know if the intake had been gasket had been replaced, but that was my problem. Of course, I need to replace the intake gasket, which I will do, but for now I was able to simply tighten the bolts in the back and on the sides. The front were torqued down pretty good, and solve this crazy oil leak that I could not find for anything. So I wanted to just put this out there, that if you got an oil leak and you know that if you know that it's not your rear main seal, it's probably your intake gasket, and mainly it leaks around the back, like others have said. I just wanted to put this out there to let people know that if you can't find an oil leak on one of these F-body cars, it's probably the intake gasket. And you know, if you can't replace it right away, just check the bolts. At least check the bolts and see if the damn bolts are tight in it, because that's what was wrong with mine. And I mean, it was leaking like a freaking sieve too, man. And it was driving me crazy because it was so much oil underneath that was coming out of that I could not figure out where in the hell it was coming from, because it was all up underneath the car. So do yourself a favor, if you got an oil leak, clean all the oil off of the car, take it for a good hard run, bring it back, and immediately jack it up and get under there. And if it's coming from around the top of your bell housing or your transmission, 9 times out of 10 it's probably the rear main, not the rear main, but the intake gasket, and it's probably coming from around the back. You can try tightening the bolts. It worked for me. I will be replacing the gasket, but you know, I would have never thought that them damn bolts were that loose in a million years, but they were just a little over hand tight. So man, I'm just happy that oil leak's gone for now, and I will be replacing the intake gasket. So hey, there you go, man. It may work for you. It damn sure worked for me, and I'm really happy with it. So I hope this helps anybody that's got a dreaded oil leak. Cheers.